Hello, dandelions! February is the last month of winter, and we are ready to embrace warm spring. It's almost here, if you don't live in Canada, of course. Anyway, to get ourselves aligned in the mood for this exciting time, I prepared the episode about Slavic god Dazhgbog, the embodiment of sunlight. Also, he is the patron of marriage, but in a sense the ritual ceremony itself, not the institution. He is the Lord of Light and takes care of us, mortal people, 365 days per year. I know, his name doesn't sound like sunshine and rainbows, but Slavic names aren't as scary as their Latin spelling. And fun fact, the topic of this episode was suggested by your fellow dandelion, Clancy, son of Wayne. Leave a comment on what you would like to learn, and who knows, maybe your idea will make it into my pipeline. Do you even remember Dazhbog? He isn't a new face on the channel. His name popped up in previous episodes where I mentioned the pantheon of the Sacred Hill in ancient Rus. Other episodes with gods from the pantheon are available on the Slavic mythology playlist. Dazhgbog's name means the giver of good. Generosity, kindness, and liveliness are the main character traits of Dazhgbog. He was known as a peaceful god who never attacks, but uses his power to protect people, to give them light and warmth. Every morning in Slavic mythology is the same. Dazhgbog starts his journey at the Golden Palace far east, at the land of eternal summer. He makes a round trip across the sky in the chariot with white, fire-breathing horses. The Slavs believe that sunlight is a bunch of arrows of Dazhgbog, and the bright daylight is a glow from the golden armor worn by Dazhgbog. Back then, Dazhgbog was known as the keeper of keys from Yav. He is the one who separates day and night, worlds, Yav and Nav in Slavic theology. The Slavs believe that Dazhgbog locks the world for the winter season and unlocks the summer. When Yav is good to go for the winter, Dazhgbog gives the keys from the lock to birds, who carry them to Iri. The birds return in spring to Dazhgbog with the key to open the summer season. Yet, Dazhgbog wasn't the only sun god in the Slavic pantheon. He represented only a part of the sun journey. The Slavs had the solar triad of gods: Dazhgbog, Horse, and Yarila. God Horse represented winter sun, God Yarila, spring season sun, and Dazhgbog represented a summer season, which is quite similar to the ancient Egyptian god structure, by the way. The sun has a lot of phases, therefore a lot of gods to represent each part of the cycle. Dazhgbog is the son of Svarog, Slavic god blacksmith, and Lada, goddesses of love, the oldest child. He was born in the Forge of Heaven in Iri. He is the first spark produced by Svarog's hammer when striking the altar stone. Dazhgbog has many brothers and sisters: Perun, Stribog, Simargal, Morning Zarya, and Evening Zarya. You might find some of his siblings familiar. Sun's boy personal life deserves a soap drama on Netflix, because he had a lot going on. Dazhgbog's love story starts with Zlatogorka. He saw her asleep and fell in love with her. When Zlatogorka woke up, she wasn't happy about that, and with help of magic she trapped him in her magic box. However, since Dazhgbog is a fine-looking god, not a creepy no-name dude, Zlatogorka changed her mind later. She released him from the box and they got married. There is no happily ever after this time, because Chernobog's spell sent Zlatogorka to the underworld, Nav. After an unsuccessful rescue mission, Dazhgbog ended up with two kids, Avseny and Kalyada, while Zlatogorka's soul merged with the soul of the goddesses of death and winter Mara, or Marina. They got married, had a son Bogomir, and Mara left Dazhgbog with Kashey, in some sources Chernobog. Dazhgbog got chained to the mountain of Latyr by Kashey, and had a sad perspective on life. Fun fact, the Slavs managed to turn it into a holiday. Long story short, Shiva, Slavic goddesses of life, rescued Dazhgbog with the water of life, and they married. They had kids, and then their kids had kids, and this process continued up to generation Pepsi. Now you know where I come from. All in all, Slavs consider themselves grandchildren of Dazhgbog. Once upon a time Svarog ruled people. Then he passed the throne to Dazhbog. Dazhbog was the first king, the Sun-Tsar in the human world, and the lawmaker. Dazhbog initiated the solar calendar chronology. The 6th of May symbolizes the end of winter and the beginning of summer. This is the day when Dazhbog and Marena split up. For the first time of the year, the Slavs would put the cattle outside to pasture. Dueling this day had magical properties, and the Slavs would collect it for curing animals with it later. Since the Slav depended on the good harvest, they would offer gifts to the Lord of Light. Usually, offerings were feathers of geese, swans, and ducks, as well as honey, apples, and nuts. The wooden idols of Dazhbog were always placed to face east, where Dazhbog begins his daily journey. Nevertheless, God Dazhbog is a giver and doesn't require anything in return from people then and now. We still can hear the spirit of Dazhbog in modern days, in the Russian phrase "Дай Боже", which translates to "God bless me". That is all what I have for today. We're getting pretty close to hitting 1K, and I'm hyped for that. Are you? What do you think about the video thumbnail? I saw it in a dream. I love those days when everything I have to do is wake up and write it down. Except I have to doodle it in the middle of the night, plus I have to draw it later. O sun, the shining light, you are the grace that comes from heaven. Have a warm, blessed day, dandelions.